I welcome Prakhar Jain. He is the Director of Global Sales at Whatfix, and he's going to talk about how to recruit kick-ass sales teams, lessons from Whatfix. Prakhar, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Debarati. Awesome panel, and thanks for inviting me to the session as well. I am quickly going to be sharing my screen with you guys because I have a short presentation to take you guys through as well. So let me know once you guys are able to see it okay. Debarati, you might have to confirm that for me.
Sure. Yes, I can see your screen. Yes.
That is perfect. Great. So a quick introduction about myself. Like Debarati mentioned, I am the Director of Global Sales at Whatfix. I run our inbound sales motion. Joined Whatfix as the first employee with the founders. Now about 350 plus people across the globe, 6 offices globally, and mostly selling in US. 60 to 70% of our customer base is in US. That's a little bit about us. Now let's get into the topic for you, which is how do you recruit and scale a sales team? So this is what I have on the agenda. I will have to really rush through things to ensure that I'm able to cover everything, considering Debarati has hard timelines for us here. But we will try and cover as much as possible. So, for any company who's actually looking to scale, there are some key things I wanted to tie it up into a story, which is, starting from sourcing, what are the parameters to consider when hiring, the sales predictable hiring metrics, what's involved in that, how do you arrive at that, the interview process in general. We can't neglect firing unless, it's the lessons in sales hiring are never complete without touching this topic, and then the capacity planning in general. So let's get to the first one. How do you attract the right talent? Now, there could be 3 different sales motions in any organization. When a company is pretty small, you're actually thinking of a founder-led sales model, which is, let's say just 1 or 2 salespeople. You want to make sure that you're able to attract the right people. Now is not the time to go on job boards. So as an organization, then you want to try your own network. You want to make sure that you're reaching out in your own network. You're talking to your previous employers and seeing, what sort of people are there who could be a fit. You talk to your investor network. You talk to LinkedIn groups and communities, but don't go to job boards yet, because at early stage, you need people who actually, can bring their way through, not so much a specialist in the initial stages. When you actually then grow to a team, slowly the sales motion is just beginning. You're 2 to 5 people. You have some predictability into what's going to work from you. Rely very heavily on references from your employees. That's very important. They know what works at this organization, and they can help you find relevant people in no time. Again, own network is the most important. Keep on building and nurturing your network with time. And startup communities is another one. And if you look at the third one, which is when you have a well-defined sales process in place, then is where everything that you can think of comes in, where all the sources of, the job boards, the recruiters, the agencies, the LinkedIn, and all of that comes in. Now, you got to remember, for startup founders, this is very important, that you got to build some thought leadership with time as well as your company is growing. It's equally important to sort of attract candidates, mainly for the reason that if you look at the tip, the top 1% salespeople in any company are never looking out for jobs. I mean, these are the highest paid employees. They're probably in some cases earning more than the CEO themselves. So they're not really looking out for jobs. They're just doing very well. Their ex-bosses are calling them, and they always have a job available. So unless there is something that attracts them with some thought leadership of some kind, it's going to be really hard for you to sort of go back. Now, looking at what are the parameters to consider when hiring, again, as a new company, when you start, you can divide it by a variety of parameters, depending on what geography are you selling into? Are you selling in India versus US? Are you selling in EMEA versus APAC? Because the cultural nuances can make a lot of difference. The size of the deals is very important as well, because if you're selling a $10,000 deal, it's more transactional in nature. Your deal will move much faster, as opposed to when you're selling a $100,000 deal, that becomes more an enterprise sales. You have different company sizes as well, which also translates into how many buyers would be involved as a part of your buying process. In SMBs, the decision making is quicker, as opposed to a large enterprise where it would take more time. Vertical, why that is important is when you're selling to Google, you could still be very casual, sitting in a round neck t-shirt, trying to sell your way through. Try that with a JP Morgan Chase. Doesn't work. So again, depending on the background of the person and the industry you're selling to can be very different. Size of accounts, yes. So again, if you're basically trying to expand into an existing account, then the sort of skill sets needed is very different as well. Now, if you look at the bottom line of this slide is that you need to hire generalists in the beginning. So you just hire one person who could do everything for you. And then gradually when things scale, that's when the specialists come into the picture who could help you with the SDR, BDR, account executive, customer success manager, and those differentiated roles. But that only happens gradually. Initially, when you're hiring people, you just want one person who could do it all for you. Now, this is a hiring metric created internally, which I've been able to develop over a period of time in scaling our team at Whatfix. So what you would see here as some of the column headlines would be that we have a scoring table, we have a weightage, and then we have the candidate score column where you multiply the two numbers to arrive at that. On the left, you would see the sales characteristics that we judge a candidate on. So you're looking at preparation, adaptability, domain experience, and all of the others that you see. There are also definitions available on how we judge them. So I'll pick one random one because we can't go through all with the limited time we have. But let's say if I had to pick any, just to see how I'm actually checking, a particular sales characteristic in this case. In adaptability, I would want to see that how did the candidate actually adjust in the last two jobs? Was it, let's say if I give them a tricky scenario that, okay, the deal is now going off the charts. This is a particular scenario in the interview process. How would you adapt to it? And basis the answer, we actually figure out how much they would be able to adapt to our process. The same thing actually extends to further more, and it's very exhaustive. If you're looking for slides on this, don't worry about it. Debarati should be able to share the slides with you after the call. But the idea of this is that, we've tried to make it exhaustive to not go wrong in our hiring process. And if you're a candidate watching this, you might be wondering that, God, this is a lot that I'm being judged on. But we are also making it public and keeping it open that you know what you're being judged on. So it's easy for you to prepare for it in advance and be really good at it. I'll give you a simple feedback on coachability. Some of you might be thinking that how can someone test coachability on an interview itself? Well, it's very easy. Let's say we do a roll call or a mock call. And as soon as the mock call is done, I give you some feedback right on the call. Right after the feedback is given, I ask you to do another mock call. And what I'm trying to test now is that, are you able to implement the feedback that was given to you on the next call itself in the next 10 minutes? If you're able to do that, you're very high on coachability. If not, then, depends on how much you were able to do, we actually adapt. So there are definitions. I would love to answer any additional questions, after the call on this as well. Our interview process is very simple. 4 rounds in typical. That's how startups would like to do as well. You don't want to make it 7 rounds and 8 rounds and make it very complicated for candidates. So from our hiring perspective, we try to keep it simple. The screening would usually happen with a recruiter. We're just trying to check the candidate sales DNA, validate the prior success they've had, how the sales process is, their understanding of it, and so on. Then we are looking at the telephonic process, which is around preparation, domain experience. Now, any candidate who comes for a sales interview, we first ask them to pitch our own company. The second question is, what do you know about us and the competitive landscape? The third question is, what sort of research you have done? If we do not get answers to these questions right, the interview is done in the next 10 minutes. We do not want to proceed because we do understand that in that form of a scenario, the candidates won't survive the aggressive culture that we have. And that's not a good state to be in. So that's how we do it. Round 3 is pretty much a demo round. We can basically ask you to do a demo of your own product or a Whatfix product. Choice is yours. We are all trying to test you on all the skills that you see in the right side column. And the round 4 is pretty much around the behavioral, where how curious are you? What's your sales acumen? Did you ask the right questions as a part of the process, and judging you on that? Now, again, a quick tip for startup founders and companies who are looking to hire salespeople would be to create a recruiter cheat sheet with all the material that you're expecting candidates to research in one single sheet. Now, when I say that, what I mean is that you should be able to create about your company, your competitive landscape, the funding information, who your customers are, all of that in one single place that your candidate can actually go through. Okay. Now I'm going to be talking about a topic not so well discussed and not so well taken, which is firing. Lessons in sales hiring can never be completed without addressing firing, as I said earlier. So don't make it personal. In general, as a sales manager, a lot of times we have to do it. It's a part of business. Typically, it's on performance. So you should give enough time to the candidates to ensure that they're getting enough and more time in hand to sort of prove their mettle. Never focus only on performance is what is a learning that we have had in times, because a lot of times you might be putting in efforts, but because of the product or other factors, you're not able to sell. So measure the candidate on efforts and not so much only on the hard numbers. Definitely give them some feedback. If you don't have an official performance improvement plan, try and put people on, some form of metric where you actually help them understand, give them some feedback around, okay, what's not working, give them some time, and then see, are they able to improve? Cultural misfits is a big one. You definitely want to ensure that you weed them out early. Anything related to a cultural misfit definitely is not good for your organization long term. And another thing sales managers could do is just follow their opportunities and deals closely to see the level of efforts and if everything that could actually happen in a deal is happening or not. And of course, you would want to do this for a lost deal. Just a general tip: a lot of times, people measure the success of a salesperson basis what they've done in their previous jobs. It's not necessary that just because they've been the top performers earlier, will they be a top performer at your organization as well? Okay. Quickly, the last slide. So I think I'm not getting late. Debarati, do I have time or are we late?
Yes, you do have time. We'll rush through the questions, but you can finish up the slide, please.
Perfect. This is my last one. Now, this is capacity planning. This would only be relevant to founders. As a candidate, you don't care about it. Well, one is you consider the time to hire a person. How much time typically does that take for you to hire one sales rep? If it's 1 to 3 months, that's when you want to do your capacity planning from that perspective. You also want to see the time to ramp up, which is 3 months in this case, as an example. So let's say if your time to ramp up is 3 months, you want to ensure that you are hiring well enough in advance to accommodate for that. If an average sales rep is giving you a productivity of somewhere between $400,000 per year to $1 million per year, you do the backward math from a company quota perspective, that how many reps are needed, and then you understand the hiring plan accordingly. Where if you need, X million dollars at the end of the year, your quota is X, this is the ramp up time, this is the time to hire, so you go back accordingly. And the last one is, which is the most ignored, is the success ratio of a hire. Now, industry average says 1 out of 3 people succeed in your organization. So you might want to account that as well when you're targeting a $5 million ARR and want to make sure you don't miss it. So typically, you always want to overplan as a founder to ensure that even if the team is at 80% of your quota, you've still met the company goals. So I would like to wind up with the capacity planning. Would love to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. It was pretty short. I was definitely wanting to share this in a lot of detail, but as the deck comes to you, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and we can chat more around it.
That's amazing, Prakhar. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was a very insightful one, and we'll surely share the deck with all of you. We'll quickly jump onto the question and answer session. So the first question that we have is from Princy Parmar. She asks, what are the traits to look when hiring for a SDR?
Right, that's a good question. So, typically when you're looking for an SDR, it depends on how you define an SDR as well. That's the first thing to look at. Different companies have their own definitions. Like for us, an SDR is a person who is actually doing inbound. So, lead comes on the website, they pick up the call and they pick up the phone and call that person, qualify them basis certain parameters. Now, when you're looking for an SDR, you definitely want to check through a lot of what is in here, where, if you look at the first one, the SDR's ability, the first ability is how quick are they and how responsive are they to leads that are coming in, if it's an inbound process. So how quickly can they research stuff? What's their voice quality on the phone? Are they able to handle the call well? Because when you're calling people in an uninterrupted manner, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing that job well enough. And what's their objection handling skill in general. So I would test all of that as a functional skill, apart from all the behavioral skills you would want to test, like rigor, grit, impact in their previous organization, their success rate, etc. But from a more functional skill, I would definitely want to do some mock calls with them and test some of these skills out.
Got it. So the second question that we have is, what are the kind of experience that you look forward to or the background for a kick-ass sales guy? How do you evaluate the same? This is from Daman.
Yeah, great question, Daman. My background is not sales as well. This is my first sales job, by the way. So, there is no right fit, to be honest, at different stages of the company. When a company is actually running a motion where there is a 30 people team, then the room for, hiring somebody with a non-sales background is much less, because we understand the learning curve would be longer, etc. And you just want people to come in and run through the process. But there is no right mantra for, hiring a kick-ass sales guy. You can only, this predictable hiring metrics can only get you closer to that, because when you sum up the total and see the score and compare to 2 or 3 different candidates, you would definitely see some scoring a lot higher than the others. But, as you saw, the industry average and the success ratio of hire is 1:3. So, I mean, even after all of this, there are all probabilities that you might go wrong. So, yeah, I only wish there was a right answer to it.
Right. So the next question is from Muthu. He asks, what are the top 3 things that you look in a candidate for sales?
Right. So the most important one out of this for me would be that, how motivated are you to join my organization? One is, you want to join this organization because it's just another job for you. But second is, I want to join this organization because I am really, really passionate about what you guys do. And it's easy to make that out on a call. So I'm definitely checking, how passionate are you about this? Because if you are, then you'll do well. Second is your grit. What's the strength of character? Like, if I push you, really stress you out in an interview round, how good can you be and how well can you survive? And, I'll give you all the worst of objections you've thought of, and I will still want to see that how do you handle that. The third one would be more how rigorous you are in the process. I'll probably ask you certain examples around, give me some examples of how data driven are you, and, certain cases where just because you were so thorough in a process, it caused a good business impact. So talk to me a little bit about that. And then I would look at that. And then all of the other things become pretty much superficial. Prior success is definitely something we would want to look at if the person is from a sales background, and so on. Yeah. But slightly subjective. I know I'm probably not giving very pinpointed answers, but these are subjective. Yeah. It could vary from one org to another.
All right. So we have the next question from Yogesh. He asks, how do you validate a prior success, like in terms of numbers?
Reference checks. So you're going to tell me that, Yogesh, you met 300% of quota quarter on quarter. I'm going to ask you, give me your last 2 ex-bosses, number or email address to reach out to. And I would definitely ask them that, because, in sales, we as salespeople are really good at making stories. I mean, that's all we do, right? And to validate those stories, there are some measures and checks needed as a part of the process as well. So definitely, that's one of the ways we do that. We also ask you certain questions around, if you say 300%, we're going to be deep diving into that 300% that explain more on what's your ticket size, how many deals did you close, what's your pipeline like. Just deep dive into numbers, and if somebody was cooking up stories, they would get caught somewhere. So it's easy to identify with multiple ways.
Hey, thank you for watching the recording. Do check us out at Amplus B2B Bench for more such killer content. Also, don't forget to go to www.amplus.com and book your free demo for Amplus Enterprise version to rank your next customer.